Good afternoon, good evening. I'm always confused with the time of day. Last night I was just as confused, but good evening. Thank you so much for being with me. Um, I was thinking about my music. Y'all know I'm always like, what am I going to play? And I was like, ready or not, because people don't be ready for the
All
magic
right.
that is Miss Aja. So, um, if you are tuning in, please be sure to text your network. Have them join us. We're about to have a really great conversation about all the magic that is Aja, social emotional learning, our tail experience. So, wanting to definitely give you and any viewers that are tuning in live the opportunity to share the link with folks. I have definitely shared the link and I will continue to share the link. Hoping that we get some folks to join us. We are definitely welcoming your questions in the chat. Um, and tell family if you are here, definitely feel free to check in the chat. You know, we're going to shout y'all out. So we have so much love for you. Ash, how are you as we get ourselves together?
I'm doing good. I've been working all day long. I started at 7 o'clock this morning. I did manage to stop for food and to walk around, but it's been a busy day.
Well, I just appreciate you taking time out of your busy day, and I definitely want to make sure that I respect your time. So we'll just jump right into it. We will get straight into it. Again, inviting folks to send the link to your friends, family, foes, all of them good people, inviting them to join in live. And if folks are unable to attend live, send the link and let them know that they can always view us on Instagram later. Um, so thank you again for being here. Good evening, everyone. My name is Tanisha Jointer. I am the founder of Investor Consultant Firm. And at Investor Consultant Firm, we support community partners and school districts across the country in creating healing spaces. We provide customized training for folks around trauma, social emotional learning, and healing center practices. So we are somewhat of a one-stop shop. Like you name it, we probably do a little bit of it. And then what we don't do, we will definitely refer you to somebody who does. And I am just so thrilled and honored to continue to have these conversations with folks. For those of you who don't know, we started ruminating on this idea, my team and I, during Black History Month, wanting to shout out and celebrate all things Black. Black history makers was what I think our theme was. And then we decided, like, we were having such a good time, like, let's extend these conversations into March, as March is Women's History Month. So all month long, really shouting out, elevating women who are making history. We also wanted to make sure that we took time to shout out our social workers. So we'll have some stuff later in the month specific to social workers, but shout out to the social workers out there. This is Social Work Appreciation Month. Specifically, this is School Social Work Appreciation Week. So shout out to all of my school social workers out there. I look forward to seeing y'all at conference soon. So big ups to school social workers. And without further ado, Aja, I'm going to turn it over to you. I'm going to ask that you introduce yourself, tell us about the work that you do, the magic that you carry. And I turn the floor over to you.
All right, Tanisha, it's good to be here. My name is Aija Simmons, and I'm really an educator at heart. So, like, I make spaces, create spaces, opportunities, partner with people for them to deepen their own learning. And that's like across ages, generations, races. If you want to go deeper, I'm your partner, right? I'm your person. I'm a champion you, cheer you on, help you figure out what that right next step is. I think that's the through line for me my whole life, like across what I've been doing. When I think about myself as my own brand, like,
Yeah.
we have these companies and we give them names and we have work titles. But when I consider myself and what is the brand that is Aja, Aja is going to help you figure out how to get from where you are now to where you want to go and whatever that goal is. So I think I'm just a learning partner at heart. My current title is UTK coordinator. UTK is Universal Transitional Kindergarten Coordinator for an organization called 21st Century School Leadership Academy. 21st Century School Leadership Academy, also known as 21 CSLA, is a part of California's statewide system of support for education. So we do work at the statewide level. We are housed in the Graduate School of Education at UC Berkeley, and my role is to support Gavin Newsom's Universal Transitional Kindergarten Initiative, and to help leaders who may or may not have a background in early childhood implement this tremendous initiative. And it's such a privilege to be doing this work in a state that says we are going to center equity. We are going to talk about doing this work in service of Black and Brown kids, dual language learners. We are going to do it from a perspective of universal design. We're going to think about Native American populations, all of the stuff, right? It's such a privilege to be in this place to discuss with leaders all of the things that we need to be thinking about as we take this initiative that's providing access universally to California's 4-year-olds and make sure that that access is implemented with equity at its heart. So that's my day job, right? Which is to connect with leaders across the state. And then I have passion projects.
I love the passion project.
My day job. I love my day job, and I love working with leaders around equity. Then I have these things that just get my blood circulate, get me going, and bring all of the pieces of who I am to the table. And some of those things are working in my local community where I live in Oakland, California, in my faith-based network with people who are working in home daycares. Often when we have people who are home daycare providers, they're trying to break the chains of poverty off their families. They're trying to, provide a service in the community. They're working as entrepreneurs, and they don't often have access to professional development or executive skills development. So I meet with a group of folks, and whatever their questions are, we work through them. We talk about curriculum. We talk about budgets. We talk about dealing with families as partners, becoming community oriented, linking up to all of the things that go along with having a home daycare, but also understanding that they're at the front lines of brain development. That they're on the front lines of setting students up for school readiness, making sure they know what the data is around disproportionality. These are things that often home daycare providers don't have access to, right?
Absolutely.
So that's one of my passion projects. The other, I just got certified as a healing center coach with Bloom and Willow. Shout out to Bloom and Willow coaching certification program, and Leslie Avant Brown, who is an amazing leader who started this program thinking about Harriet Tubman and conductors. And I heard her talking about conductors, and I was like, I'm a conductor. I'm not certified yet, but I know that's what I am. So I need to just go ahead and link up with you. So I finally did that, and I'm getting ready to launch. I could launch today, tomorrow, I know any day now. I'm getting ready to launch my next passion project, which is Artesian Well Coaching, which is centered in healing-centered wellness. And I want to provide this coaching opportunity for parents like me who are trying to coach past oppression, coach past white supremacy, coach past, dealing with the traumas of our own childhoods, and not pass that stuff on to our offspring, and realizing that we have to do that work in partnership with like-minded people. Yes. So my hope is that Artesian Well will be a place where parents can go to come and get a partner in a way that's accessible and affordable, and have access to the support you need when you're trying to guide the next generation of leaders and freedom fighters and love warriors and all of that stuff, right? And you just need somebody to talk some things through with. So tomorrow you can hit up artesianwellcoaching.com and see a little bit more about our mission and vision.
So I love All of that. One, my mom used to have a home daycare.
Hmm.
So that is like resonating and speaking to my heart. And I think about, just that influence that she had, and my sister who was employed, with her daycare had,
Hmm.
on not only the students but the young parents who were dropping their children off to our
Right.
home at that time, right? Because it was oftentimes younger parents. We were positioned near a high school, and so a lot of her clients, her families were young people from the high school. And so but just thinking about that idea of like, they don't have a training space. We are not,
No.
as a system, really investing in home care, home daycare providers. And so I think that is super dope. And wondering, is that something you're doing just in the local Oakland area, or are you willing or able or wanting to even expand, doing something maybe even virtually for others outside of the Oakland area?
Yeah, that's a great question. So, you know how passion projects start off, or how my passion projects typically start off, is I'm having a conversation with somebody I love.
Yeah,
And they're like, look, Aja, this is what I'm trying to do. This is what we have going on. These are the supports we need. We don't have access to this. I'm not sure about that. I need some help with this. And in one conversation, I was like, oh, I can help you with that. I have access to those tools. We can think about, making sure that you're shored up on the preschool learning foundations, making sure you have your branding design, making sure you have your website, making sure you understand how to communicate with parents and families on their children's developmental milestones. And we just going back and forth. And before I knew it, I was like, yeah, let's put a date on the calendar and let's meet. And also this is a Black man, which was another reason why I was like, I have to do this work.
for
Because
sure.
in the home daycare space, we need more men. We need more men of color. We need more models who are like, I'm
Yes.
working with children and I'm loud and proud. I'm male and I'm helping these preschoolers in my neighborhood to be school ready. So I was like, yes, I'm a partner with you. He pulled in 5 other home daycares
Wow.
who were sitting in the same position, all locally in Oakland. And so I was like, let's sit down and decide what we want to do. Let's make a plan. So we did that. We made a plan. I wrote up a curriculum. We set dates and times to meet consistently, and it started from there. And we're in our second year of doing this work. So time commitments is a thing. Developing something out when you already have a full-time gig
For
is a
sure. For
thing.
sure.
So this is like weekend work. In that sense, we are definitely willing to add more local daycares to the mix. And then I guess the thought would be it would take time for me, like to find the financial partners, to find some additional supports to help, to provide this on a more larger scale or in a more sustainable way, because there is definitely a need. But these folks need a particular kind of person.
For
They need
sure.
a person who understands not only child development, but what they're trying to do with upward mobility. They need someone to meet them where they are, right? And help them
Mhm.
see themselves in a different place, and
Yeah.
who can really, make the vision accessible and not, make it seem like, how it is when you are a person of color trying to, I don't, the statistics on education and who's in education.
Yeah. So I'm here for you in Chicago. So my sister actually has a home daycare as well. So I'm gonna reach out. I'm gonna ask my sister about their training and what are we doing in Illinois as a state, because I think that is a brilliant idea, and a brilliant space to be showing up and supporting communities. Um, yeah, I'm like, wow, that is, and again, I think like for folks who are tuning in and for folks who are listening, right? When you are living and existing in your passion and your purpose, right? Like things will line up. The work, doesn't necessarily feel as much like the work, because you are existing and thriving in your passion. And so just wanting to encourage us to spend some time really trying to unpack and identify, like, what is that thing that is my passion
Mhm.
that I can do
Mhm.
every day? If I do or don't get paid, what is that thing that brings me the greatest joy? And I think for me, in my search or my quest for my passion, is like, what brings me the greatest joy, but what also has the most meaningful impact for me, right? And I
Yeah.
think, again, and also in my business, I'm always like, what work am I connected to? Because if I'm not connected to the mission, the vision of the work of my clients, like, I'm not doing it. So I love that your passion project is something that is serving so many people. Not only the daycare providers, the child care providers, but the students that they are supporting. This work is supporting the families of these home daycare. So again, big ups to you, because that is brilliant. And I'm like, oh my God, I want to help. And then this healing center wellness work. So first of all, let's talk about Oakland, because I have not been to Oakland, and
Okay.
Tina was here with me last week, and she talked about Oakland and how I need to come visit Oakland and how I won't ever be the same after coming to visit Oakland. She was like, "You're gonna move here. You're gonna come for a visit and never return home." Um, let's talk about this healing center work in Oakland. How did you get to that?
So it's a wonder how as you get older you go from having all of these different jobs or to you said something to me about wearing many different hats, and I was actually thinking, there is a difference in the hat wearing you and you wearing the hat,
Mm,
especially in terms of like career and career trajectory and trying to, I need the title, I need the thing, I need to make the money, I need to be able to survive, I need to be able to take care of myself. As you get older, when you shift from trying to do the stuff to actually becoming who you are, it's
yeah.
like I'm in that place where I'm like, this is not about doing all of the stuff. This is about becoming who I am and
Yes.
showing up fully as me in every space I'm in, whatever title I'm standing in, right? Whether I'm standing in front of 50 leaders in the state of California as the UTK coordinator, I have to show up there as fully me. I'm standing in my fullness as Aija Simmons up here, whether I'm around the table of 15 home daycare providers, I'm standing up in my fullness, as Aija Simmons here. And I think that's been a powerful shift. And part of that is being from Oakland. Like, for real. Part of that is being from Oakland. And being from Oak, I love Oakland. I'm Oakland to the core, where the liberatory pilot light is always lit, the home of the Black Panther Party, the originators of the hyphy movement, all the stuff. Like, I'm here for all of it. And I have deep connections and roots in Oakland, connected to my faith-based community. My grandfather and my grandmother, they were ministers, both of them.
Okay.
I have familial ties to the East Bay Dragons in Oakland, who were the first Black biker organization. But you come to realize the complexity of living in an urban environment.
Mm-hmm.
I grew up during the crack epidemic.
Mm-hmm.
Crack changed communities.
Mm-hmm.
And as a kid, you don't really realize the influence that has on what you're seeing and what you're living through. But
Mm-hmm.
as an adult, I understand that I was shaped by all of these different pieces. And you come to a place inside of you where you realize, in order for you to move forward in your fullness, in your passion, and in your joy, parts of you have to heal.
Mm.
And it's not, sometimes you have to heal from things that were intentional, but sometimes you just got to heal from growing up and living up under, systems of oppression, all of the stuff, right? And so for me, the healing center coaching piece came after I realized that so many parts of me had to be healed if I was going to have joy and if I was going to live in my fullness. And I really, Tanisha, want to live in my fullness. I don't just want to do work. I don't just want to wake up and exist. I want to be in my fullness. And that required healing because people needed to be forgiven. I needed to be forgiven.
Mhm.
I needed to wash my hands of some situations and some
Mhm.
circumstances. You know what I'm saying? I needed to have my whole full conversion moment. And then what I realized was those moments have all happened for me in partnership.
Mm.
I don't know that I've had many of those moments that were truly transformational in and of myself.
Okay.
And so I was like, I want to partner up and I want to think about coaching, not from the standpoint of an educator, not from the standpoint of an executive, but I want to think about coaching from the standpoint of healing. And so that's kind of how I got linked up with this healing centered coaching program that Leslie Avant Brown started called Bloom and Willow. And then she grounded it. Here's what she did. She said, I'm making a cohort for Black women. I was like, yep, sign me up. This is my moment and opportunity because I'm a firm believer in the magic that is a group of Black women that come together unapologetically,
Come through.
supporting one another
Come
to
on.
move forward, right? Our magic heals the world. Our magic is something about it can just heal and transform spaces. So when she said there's going to be a cohort that's for Black women, I was like, yeah, now is my time. It's my time to act on that. And out of that, was born Artesian Well Coaching, which is
Yeah.
what I'm gonna be doing next.
I love it. You know, so in transformative educational leader in our fellowship, I think that was the beginning of my healing journey, right? That was the in front of I don't know how many of us was in our core, like 50 people, right? I am like coming to I like came to Rubber in that road and I was just like, I cannot exist like this anymore.
Yeah.
And I think it was through that. And then we have our Black and Tail crew, right? That I really began to understand the healing that I needed to do.
Mm-hmm.
And for anybody out there that is like, oh, I'm on this healing journey, like, yo, that shit is hard.
Yeah. Yeah.
It is so hard. It is so uncomfortable. It is so I was having this like reoccurring dream that like of dying, right?
Yeah.
And like the therapist in me was like, oh my God, Tanisha, you are losing. Well, no, the human in me was like, Tanisha, you're losing your mind. The therapist in me was like, what is this representing? And then I had to start having these real honest conversations with myself. And I realized that those reoccurring dreams about dying were um, me really understanding and coming to grips with this journey that I'm on. Like I am shedding who
Mm-hmm.
I was and stepping into who I am becoming. And while it is uncomfortable and it requires it's a tug of war on most days, right? That I am shedding some part of me.
Yeah.
And so I like I am like so excited to hear about this healing work. I had the pleasure of working with Dr. Jim Wright, Dr. Sean Jim Wright,
Mm-hmm.
last summer, who is doing a ton of work in healing center in the healing world. And I did his certification, his healing center certification. And like even that was so transformative to like be in the
Yes.
space. First of all, so I interviewed for a job with them. Let me shout out to the Flourish Agenda because they are the shit. Like his wife, like before the call was over, first of all, I completely talked myself in and out of this job with her. But like she she like I was like, I love you. Oh my God. Like, I like cried in this interview because this
Mm-hmm.
woman asked me questions, not about my resume or my publications or all these other things. She wanted to know who I was
Right.
as a human being, what made me tick, what did I value, where was my joy, where was my passion. I'd never been asked those questions before. And
Mm-hmm.
so this work of healing, anybody who think they on a healing journey and you just having fun and you just shopping and buying stuff, that ain't what you doing.
Right.
I don't know what you doing, but trust me, it ain't.
Right.
If you ain't up crying, that ugly, sobbing, like I can't breathe, cry, I don't know what you're doing because that healing work, oh my God, it is a shedding of what we know, what we've come to accept. And it's not just a quick start and stop. It is
Right.
it's some time, it's some work, and it requires us to learn and relearn some things and unlearn a lot of things
Yes.
on that journey. So I am super proud of you for being in the space to certify and to coach folks through that. I'm going to look up this program. Y'all gonna try to get me to move to Oakland. I'm not gonna play with you or Mina.
Bloom and Willow is virtual. You can do
Oh,
Bloom and Willow virtually. Check it out. Check out the website. I mean, it's a powerfully transformative space. And yeah, go check it out if you're interested in coaching. And you know, I'm always down with whatever, whatever you got going on. I'm like, yeah, I'm down to partner.
I absolutely love it. Okay, I got a whole list of questions. We almost 30 minutes in. I ain't touched any question. Hey Paula, thank you so much for checking in with us. Okay, where are my questions? Okay. So we talked about your journey, your purpose. We spoke a bit about just you living and existing in this space of service. We talked a bit about your work is making space for people to go deeper in their work and in their practice, and that is such a selfless space to be in. I want to know, like, how did you get there, or like, who do you believe has been your greatest influence in getting to that space?
Now so basically what I just said was I cannot find a transformative moment where I didn't have a partner, and I've been blessed in that way. But I'm gonna go all the way back to my roots.
Come on,
And
Ruth.
say my biggest influences by far are my grandparents, Marshall and Doretha Simmons. I'm shouting out full names
Come
today
on, government.
because I'm standing on their shoulders legitimately and for true. Um, you talking about innovation and like willing to stand up and say, I have a place in this world and I'm gonna demand my space and place.
Yes.
And not only am I going to demand my space and place, I'm taking my whole community with me. That's who they were. So my grandfather was a preacher. He started a church on the corner where I currently live, on the corner right next door to my house, in a storefront, you know, in the 70s. He went from this small storefront church on the corner to a full city block.
Wow.
In Oakland, California, on the main street in our city in 1978. Way before his time. He used to say, you know, home ownership, property ownership is the way that you build wealth. He made sure that his grandchildren all were homeowners.
Mm.
My grandmother, right alongside him, was like, education is how you access the dream. We want to make sure everyone is educated. When she was growing up in New Orleans, she was the community hairstylist and, you know, reading buddy or whatever in New Orleans as a young kid. And when she moved to California and married my grandfather and started working alongside him, when he opened the church, she opened the daycare. The daycare moved from being a daycare to being a school. Stayed at school for 30 years, I believe,
Wow.
before she passed away. So something about watching them and then watching the Black community that they were able to give me access to made me believe in my own potential.
Yeah.
Right. I have the potential to go out here and do something and make a difference and find my own passion and find my own way and do things my way, you know, and to fall down. Like my grandmother, she never said a bad word about any of her children. Right. And if she said it in private. She never said anything bad about us in public. Because you could fall down with her. You could fall down and get back up. You can make a mistake and try again. My first year at Berkeley, I was a fish out of water. I went from all of these small community spaces of love to the UC Berkeley campus and legitimately was a fish out of water. I was in internal pain, trying to deal with some identity issues, trying to find my way as a young Black girl in this big white institution, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, all the stuff, you know, I'm like, I'm free, I got freedom, I got access to alcohol, I got access to weed, I got access to all the stuff, right? So I'm just wilding out. And I was flunking out, tell the truth, I was flunking out. So I got my academic probation letter and I knew where to go. It's like, go talk to granny. Ain't nobody else to talk to. If I go talk to my granny, there won't be shame. There won't be guilt, right? I showed up crying and snotting and having a midlife crisis. And like, I done all this work to get to this opportunity. And now I'm squandering it, granny. I'm squandering it. And my grandmother was calm as she could be and was like, go talk to this person, go do this thing, go fill out this paperwork, drop any classes that you can drop, and start over. In an hour, she gave me a roadmap to keep
Yes.
going, right? I was like, you not panicking? You not mad? She was like, these problems can be solved.
Yeah.
Oh, it is not the end of my life, right?
Yes.
These are problems that can be solved. And
Yeah.
I did everything she told me to do. It took me a little bit of extra time to graduate, but I think that was God's will. He knew I needed a little more time
Yeah.
to, come into my full being. But there was, my grandfather and her are my biggest influences.
So what I hear you say is, as you know, for those of us who are navigating entrepreneur world, educational, whatever, like those of us who are just existing, right? Being willing to be vulnerable and share our journey is one thing that
Yeah,
I'm hearing you say, right? To celebrate and make space for failure, because it will happen.
right,
But through that failure comes growth. And
right.
then the last thing that I feel like I'm that's sitting with me is just that unconditional love. First of all, ain't nothing like a grandparent's love. Like grandparents are the best. I don't God. Anyway, that unconditional love that grandparents give, and making sure that we all are extending that unconditional love and grace and kindness
Mhm.
um to everybody that we're meeting and that we're engaging and interacting with. Because you never know, with that little piece of just, I'm gonna show up without judgment. Um,
Right.
I'm going to make space for you. That bit of kindness can really extend, and in some cases save, you know what I mean, lives. So
Yeah, and Tanisha, I just got to jump in because I'm like, that little bit of grandma, grandpa love, that little bit of unconditional is so needed in education spaces. Like we are trying to make spaces where minds are liberated, but
yes,
we do that with such judgment. Like kids
yes,
come to school, they feel judged. The parents coming onto the campus, they feel judged, right? Everybody is feeling like, do I meet the standard? Am I gonna meet the standard? And we need to invite some of that love into these learning spaces. And what I found is like, most people kind of accept you need love in preschool. Preschoolers need hugs, they need love. I find education leaders, adults at the top of their game, need a liberated space where someone is actually, and not I don't mean saying I love you, but showing up,
that part.
accepting folks' full humanity. Someone who's showing up and making space for you to go to the next level in who you are, and say that this is not a space where you are being judged. This is a space where a door is being created or a door is being opened for you to step into the higher self that you showed up in this space to become.
I'm even thinking about in your home, right? Like how many of us need that space just in my home to know that failure is an option, in my space
Yes,
to know that I'm coming to this as I am, but I'm going to be loved through it. Um and the Tail family knows, like, so I'm engaged and I am like counting down days to my wedding, and this has been the most like mirror in my face of who I really am process of my life, right?
yeah,
And like I think about the growth that I'm doing in this, our both of us, and our willingness to make space for that burning of who we once were, and to come to conversations to each other in a way of just like, I'm gonna extend this grace to you. I'm gonna get
yeah,
this grandma hug to you, right? Because we're both coming with baggage and traumas and this and that and views of how we have lived and navigate the world. And now we're trying to come into our full selves together and
yeah,
separately absolutely at the same time. So what would happen in our homes if we extended that type of grandma grandpa love to each other in our homes, that space of just no judgment, and all support, right? And
Yeah.
what I love that your grandma did was she gave you a roadmap. So often we think we supposed to send our kids out into the wilderness and like, you figure it out.
Right.
And we do such a disservice with that go figure it out. Like, if
Right.
you know a way, tell me a way.
Give me the way,
Take
right?
my way, and you may
Yeah.
find a shortcut, but I'm at least give you the blueprint. You know what I mean? And that
Yeah.
was very, I mean, just the generous and the generosity, the kindness, the love, the care that took to. I'm gonna talk you through this process because it's so much that I wish somebody would have known or would have told me on my journey, right? And don't get it twisted. Like, I know that I had to go through some things to get here, but my God.
Yeah, I think, that's why I'm like, you always have to take somebody with you. And
I
it's
love
not
that.
about, often we worry about what we can get paid for. So that's the other piece I've come to fully realize is that you will be paid, but maybe not in money, right? Open the door and make a way for someone else. You
Yes.
never know all of the
Yeah.
ripple effects that are going to come when you make that way for someone else. So I never worry about US currency or the
Yes.
currency in my bank account. I understand the value of community. I understand the value of, partners. I understand the value of human connection. And those relationships are often far outweigh, some dollars and cents. So like
Mhm.
even my neighbors where I live, I try to, one of them is an aspiring educator. We're not even the same race. But I found out, that she was doing work in the schools. And I was like, oh, I know a lot about Oakland schools. Whatever, if ever you want to connect or talk or need help, I'm happy to help. We kiki for a little while. I opened my front porch. Another neighbor had left groceries on my porch.
Wow.
Like that's the stuff. I come outside. I got a bush growing out of control. Two of my neighbors, we are not the same race. We don't communicate, but you just show up in the world with love. I come outside, they
Yes.
cutting the bush down and cleaning it up. They like, oh, we getting this together for you because we noticed that your bush hadn't been hooked up in a minute. So I was like, no expectation, right? So
Yeah.
I'm clear, pave the way, make yourself available, usher somebody else through the door. I might be ushering the person through the door that's going to open the door for my daughter. I don't
Come
know,
on. Come on.
so I don't worry about dollars and cents so much because I value relationships and I understand, the value of having human connection and human partners. And it's just as valuable, if not more valuable, than having the dollars and cents in your pocket. I don't need the dollars and cents in my pocket if I have somebody in my community that I'm in relationship
That's
with
right.
that know how to be a plumber, that know how
That's
to,
right.
what I'm saying? I don't need
That's
the
right.
money. I got a partner. I got a
That's
person,
right.
right? So I invest in my relationships.
I love that. I was talking to somebody today about like navigating, this consultant world, and I was like, one of the biggest things that I've learned is, one, your network is your net worth, right? And two, though, to intentionally work at those relationships, right?
Mhm.
I'm not just calling you every time I need something or I want something. I'm just sending a text or hootie who just to check on you, right?
Yes.
I just want to know you alive and you well, and like, hey Aja, how Nisi Poo doing, right? Like,
Yes.
I'm just asking about the things that make you you, right? But just the value in when we are connected and investing in each other. I'm reading this book. I'm looking on the table. It's like Find Your Ikigai. I think that's what
Yes.
it's called.
Okay. Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
I took the cover off because I've been too
I
crazy.
haven't read the book, but I'm familiar with the term.
But yeah, so it talks about like finding your purpose and your joy, and it talks about these blue zones, and these are 5 places in the world where people are living past 100. And the secret to the sauce mostly is the relationship,
Mhm.
that capacity to be in community, to be connected to one another, and that is what is driving people and keeping folks alive. lives. And I think about that and even caring for my aunt. And I'm just like, the moments when I see her come to herself is when she is in community with folks,
Yeah.
when she is around people that she know loves her, when she is eating food, right, that somebody prepared with some love, right?
Yeah.
So I again, to anybody who is coming up in entrepreneur world, consultant world, do not worry yourself with the money. The money will come when you are
Yes.
doing work in your purpose.
Yes.
The money will come.
Yes.
It is not about what you know or who you know. It is oftentimes going to be about who knows you. And that
Yeah.
means, again, making sure that you are opening doors, cracking windows, that you are making space to build those intentional relationships, because that is what is going to make your whatever it is you're doing soar. People,
Right.
it's 1,000 other people doing the same thing you're doing, but people gonna buy your stuff
Right.
because of you and your purpose and
Right.
your passion.
And you
So,
know what else, Tanisha? It's also about knowing the life you want to live. And I'm gonna give you an example because we are in the season of self-care.
come on, self-care.
So I'm like, okay, self-care is important. I have to do all of the things. So I'm gonna go to the spa, and I'm gonna go to the spa every 3 months, and I'm gonna
Hey.
treat myself and all of this. And I'm putting it on my schedule and on my calendar. Like, I know how to do the business. This year I'm focused on my self-care. So I did it. And what I realized in a coaching conversation with my coach was that kind of self-care stressed me out. It stressed me out. I'm an introvert, right? I don't want to be in a spa with a whole lot of people. Going outside, I'm in the public, that's not self-care. So my process of trying to care for myself was rooted in what I saw, what I heard people doing. But then when I sat down with my coach and I was coached through, like, when do you actually feel relaxed? When are you actually resting? What are the characteristics of your moments of peace? And I was like, oh, dark. It needs to be dark. I prefer if I can be, reclined or laying. I like temperature changes. I like to go from hot to cold or cold to hot. I like a scent or a smell. I like a sound, right?
Yeah.
And so then she kept coaching me, and she was like, what are some places or spaces that you may go to? I'm like, oh, you know what? If I'm at a movie theater in the middle of the day when nobody is there with recliner seats and I have my beverage of choice and it's dark, that's a spot for self-care for me. If I'm in my house, close all the windows, lights off, turn on the stereo to nothing but the sound of rain falling, that's self-care for me. So I had to redefine, because like society's definition of self-care was stressing me out. I'm like, oh, I gotta go to the spa, I gotta pack a bag, I gotta walk through all of these people, deal with all of these microaggressions to be at the spa that's actually high quality, because I'm not gonna find it in Oakland, which means I gotta go to a community where I gotta fight through all of these microaggressions just to get a massage. That is not self-care. So it's like that piece too in terms of entrepreneurship. Don't become an entrepreneur trying to live the Joneses life.
Ooh.
Become or the Knowles or the Kardashians or whoever. Become an entrepreneur trying to live your best life and figure out what your best life looks like, right? And aim for that. That's the thing. It's like aim for that. But many of us don't have time to sit still enough and to have the right questions asked us, and to, tunnel through the things that we think are our ideas, but that are not actually ours, and get to the place where we really know what is the life I want to live. Because that may be very different from the life people think you should be living.
I'm like, I'm about to fall on the floor. I'm about to slide all out this chair. You know what? Because I even think about it from the lens of like then deserving, right? Pushing it one more step further, right? The life we deserve to live, right? When I got ready to quit my job, my mama was like, wait a minute. You gonna leave this good government job with them benefits and that insurance? Okay, my mama was not with the shit. She was like, girl, what are you doing? right? But I was on this quest. I was on this journey for the life I wanted to live. I wanted more time back. I wanted more flexibility.
Yes.
I wanted to just slow down. Honest to God, I wanted to like leave the country and be gone for like
Yes.
an extended amount of time.
Oh, you was gone.
What? I'm out of here on all y'all.
Like you was gone.
I see you in 2 years or something, right? Like that's what my plan was. But it happened the way it was supposed to. But like that permission that I am worthy of this life that I want to live, right? Not what the Kardashians say, not what social media tells us our life should be, right? But
Right.
that I have the permission, that I am worthy to do something that is really pouring into me, that I deserve to
Yes.
have this quality of life, that I don't have to
Yes.
hustle and bustle and work a 9 to 5 in order to be successful. I was journaling, swear to God, I was journaling today. And I was writing about like how do I feel about where I am in my career, right? And I caught myself sliding back into that moment of like, well, shit, I ain't like jamming out a bunch of contracts, right?
Right.
I'm not doing this thing. And then I had to pause on it, like, that's why you got into this, fool. Because you
Right.
didn't want to do a bunch of things. You want to
Right.
do a few things and then be happy in those few things, because this gives me way to do so many other things that is just pouring and investing in me. And had to then remind myself that I am worthy
Yes.
of this journey, that I am worthy of this rest, that I am worthy of this time
Yes.
to sort through and to talk through and to figure out what is next for me. I am worthy of this
Yes.
journey to discover this new self. And I think sometimes we get it twisted, and we like, oh no, if I ain't got this title or these things or these trinkets or this, all of this, that I'm not it. I'm not the bee's knees. But like,
Right.
no, you definitely are. Ah, mm. And I
All
love this
that.
together. I love this together, like being on this journey with someone in partnership. Being new to partnership world, I'm like, what? No, I want to ride this out by myself because I'm a thug, right? But like the journey the time that I, as I was transitioning in my journey, even with you all in Tail as a whole, and more specifically with the Black and Tail crew, right? Like the inspiration that I received from you all, the love, the support. Again, you are not, there's no lie told about the beauty and the magic of Black women getting together. Because let
I'm
me tell you,
telling you.
anytime we have a Zoom call, I ain't even got to be on camera. I'm gonna just listen in, and I am instantly inspired and motivated and encouraged. And I am just like, I can do all the things, right, when I'm in space with y'all. So I love your perception of like this journey has to be in partnership. Um,
Yeah, I know we be wanting to do it all, right? And we will. I'm not, this is not to say we won't. You can do it all, right? You all the stuff you want to do to live the life you want to live, you got the capacity to do it all. My grandfather used to say, I know you're gonna make it because you got make it in you. And
mm,
like when I was little, it was just funny and cute. You know, you knew he was gonna tell you, oh yeah, you're gonna be all right because you got be all right in you. You're gonna be all right because you got make it in you. And that's part of my connection to artesian well, which is like if we are always looking for our abundance from without, we
mm.
will always look at ourselves as having lack. Okay. Because if your abundance is outside of you and you got to go get it, that means you always don't have enough. You are always lacking. But when you make the shift where you realize your abundance is within, when you realize you got make it within, you got all right within, that means you are enough. And once you realize you are enough, you move in space like you are enough,
You
and
better say
people think you have enough,
you
right? They
better
be like,
say
"Oh, I gotta give it to you because you got it all," and it's like, no, I don't have it all. I am it all. I am it all because I know how to go down to the well, right? I know how to tap in to my source. I know how to pull something out of nothing, right?
Come
Because
on now.
that's what I do.
This mustard
It
seed.
is that part when you start to have those kinds of realizations But often you can't get to that place without a partner. You need a model. You need someone to talk you through. You need someone to help you dig, uncover, dig around, right? To help you go, okay, it's a rock on top of my well. Like, let me move the rock. Help me with the shovel. I was talking to another person and I was like, you might be feeling stuck, but I'm standing right next to you with a crowbar.
Mm.
You don't got to get unstuck by yourself. I'm not looking for nothing. I got a crowbar. Let's go. Right? Where you feeling stuck? Okay, let's start to pry that thing apart, right? You don't have to do this. You don't have to do this by yourself, even though you can do all of the things. It's people who will partner with you along the way. And I found some amazing partners. I got to give a shout out to my Surge Fellowship people to take over Oak 22. I gotta give shout outs to Oak 20. That was an education partnership that helped me pry open, take the lid off, and dream bigger than I was dreaming. Right?
Yes.
I don't think I would have left my district position if Surge hadn't said you bigger than that. You can
Yeah.
be bigger than that, right? You can grow taller than that. You don't
Yeah.
have to stay there. And they said it enough times for me to believe it, right? For me to be like, oh, y'all might be right. So, like, it's that thing where you go, I could do, but if I get some partners, I might be able to do so much more.
I love all of that. I'm like, I'm looking at the time. I'm like, I got 8 more minutes of your time, or 10 or
Okay, where
whatever.
we
8 more
going
minutes.
next?
And I'm like, I want to respect your time because I know you have been going all day, and I got this long list of questions. So I scrapped these questions.
Okay.
Um, what I think is most important, though, what I do want you to definitely answer is, how can people be a partner to and with you? Where are spaces where people can show up and support you, support your work, support? How can people be a partner to you?
Yeah, so like I said, I'm getting ready to go live with my new website, artesianwellcoaching.com. If you know someone who you think could use a partner in uncovering their own abundance, and partnership, what I like to say, partnership and discovering the well within. If you know someone, you can link them up, give them the website, artesianwellcoaching.com. I'm gonna be taking on new coaching clients. Also, if you are, following Universal Transitional Kindergarten, the efforts of Universal Transitional Kindergarten in California, which has the potential to be a serious force of equity for our children if we are able to implement it together. If
Mm-hmm.
if education leaders in early learning spaces, definitely send them to 21 CSLA UTK for leadership support and all of that kind of thing. Link up with my girl Tanisha, like, come through, reach out to Tanisha, all of the stuff. People can find me probably I gotta say this: transformative education, leadership, TEL, that Tanisha keeps talking about, where I am now one of the core facilitators. If you are an education leader that is looking to lead from a deeper place, right? To align all of the things and to be able to have a community of compassionate witnesses who are able to support you while you do the work of equity in this, oppressive system. We're going to be sending out applications for a new cohort very soon. So go to transformativeeneducationleadership.com, look at the website, definitely show your interest if this is something you want to do. And the thing that I love about TEL is it's rooted and grounded in interbeing, which is all about the partnership, all about the understanding. And COVID showed us this. We
Yeah.
are not going through this world alone. You are
Yeah.
connected whether you want to be or not. So you might as well, maximize the connections that you have the potential to have. And it is to be an equity leader, you need a community.
Yeah.
You need a community. So if you're looking for that kind of space where you can be whole and full and, show up in your authenticity and all of that complexity, like Lama Rod Owen says, you need to be with the love and the rage. You need to be with the joy and the sorrow. You need to be a wounded healer, like all of that stuff. There is room for all of that in TEL. So definitely reach out to the TEL Fellowship.
I love all of it. I'm like I'm just like lost in the sauce of this whole conversation. And people can follow you on
Twitter at Miss Aja and LinkedIn at Ajaron Simmons. Yeah, those are the two places. Well, you'll find, anything I'm doing, any speaking engagements I have. I have a series coming up for educators in 3 cities. I think it's New York, Oakland, and the San Francisco Bay Area. And I want to say Dallas, with an organization called Beyond Differences. So also, if you want to hear more ideas around equity and social and emotional learning, go to Beyond Differences and join one of their educator cohorts if you're in any of those cities. And you can also hear me talk specifically about social and emotional learning from an equity lens, but connected to the deep understanding that it is our inner work that makes our outer work powerful.
mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Anybody that is tuning in live, if you have any questions, definitely this is the time to drop them in the chat. Paula is again shouting out TEL and its support in her transition and her journey. So again, shout out to the TEL family and community. I'm like, I have some, I don't know if it's FOMO or some jealousy of this cohort to get both you and Michael. I'm like, you and Michael. And
Yeah, Michael is
know
just
y'all are wilding. I know you all are creating the most, I mean, like a grandma's hug. You know what I mean? Like, I know you all are creating that type of loving space and community. I am so interested to see what those educators, what their students will do, right? Like, I just, oh, we have a great question from the one and only Dr. Michelle King.
Oh, hey, okay. Let's go.
Michelle, and for those of you who don't know, Michelle King is the absolute
Phenomenal.
the shit
The
shit.
truth.
Like, I mean, when I was I got invited to do a keynote address at Bowie last year, and I was just like, can somebody help me? And Michelle was like, I'm gonna help you. I got you. And I mean, she walked me through that deck, that presentation. It wasn't even that one. It was with the University of Illinois Chicago. She walked me through that presentation. She, I mean, loved me all the way through it. Showed up when I presented it live. Her and a few other of the Black and TEL crew, and I just love me some Michelle King. So Michelle wants to know, oh my God, this deep ass question. What are you willing to surrender to be free?
Stop playing.
Michelle, you play too much.
On the real though, this is the for real question. I have had to surrender my own vision of who I would be.
Ooh.
Right? Honestly, I had to surrender to who I was becoming, my own thought of who I was going to be. Right? I had to let that go. The picture that I had of myself, I had to let her go. I had to have, I had to have her funeral. Because what I realized was what was bubbling up as my authenticity was in contradiction to some of the messages that I had been given about who I should be. And so I had to surrender that, right? I've had to surrender pain. Like, and when I say surrender pain, I mean, I had to let go of trying to find out the reason. Like the reason you hurt me, the reason you did that. We don't have no time, but I got a whole experience. I had to surrender. Like you just won't know. You will never understand why that happened. Surrender the pain and surrender the need to understand and just grow, right? Just grow. You don't need to understand. I had to tell myself, you don't need to understand to grow. Let that pain go, right? Let that pain go. And I had to send that pain down the river, wade in the water, right? I had to let it go. So like I think there are constant moments of surrendering. I have to sometimes surrender to my daughter, right? I have to surrender to her because I realize sometimes the pathway forward is in her eyes.
Yes.
It's not in mine. And I can actually be healed if I listen to you with a little bit more openness and surrender the fact that I'm the adult. Surrender. Like, surrender that notion of you being an adult. Like the Bible says, and a child shall lead them. Surrender, right? Surrender. Let that little girl lead and be in her power. Because right now she really showing up and you need to, you know what I mean? You need to listen and follow. So I think when you start to be still and you can kind of, be in the stillness, your internal wisdom will let you know the things you need to let go.
I'm like, now I'm trying to keep it together because that just okay. That just, oh my God, that spoke to my being.
Mm.
Wow. Mm. Thanks, Michelle.
Yes, thank you, Michelle, for getting us all
I,
emotional.
right. I'm like, let me try not to start sobbing on YouTube because that's definitely what I want out there in the social media world of me sobbing.
Right.
Um oh, I'm gonna leave it right there. I'm talking about mic drop, like broadcast over, like that just that was everything. Yeah. So Aja, I want to thank you, Michelle King.
Absolutely.
Absolutely, thank you so very much for that. I mean, powerful question, Aja. Thank you so much for just showing up and being present in this space with all of the many things that you have going on, and still wanting to come through and grace us with your presence, with your knowledge, with your being. So thank you so much for that. Again, for those of you who don't know, I am Tanisha Jointer. I am the founder of Invested Consultant Firm, and you can follow us at Invested Consultant Firm on Instagram. And you can check out our website, www.investedconsultantfirm.com. And you can learn more about what we do, who we show up for. And this has just been, I mean, I'm just trying to keep it together as I close this out. But yeah, I appreciate you so much because you're absolutely right. When I like put the hootie hoo out, you was like, "Yep, I'm doing it. Sign me up." And it wasn't
Mm-hmm.
a question, and others in the tail cohort as well. And so I just have so much appreciation to you, the tail family, the Black and Tail crew. Um, thank you. Thank you.
Absolutely. Whenever you need me to show up, if I'm available, I'm there.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much to everybody who has tuned in tonight. Share this with folks. Share this with somebody who needs to surrender.
Mm.
Share this conversation with someone who is on a journey to be the best version of themselves. Share this with someone who perhaps needs to be on a journey,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
Share this with someone who is ready to receive this conversation, and share this with someone who you don't even know if they're ready, if they have the readiness. Because I think sometimes just being in space and seeing folks that look like you in a
Mhm.
space of
Absolutely.
vulnerability gives you some type of permission and indication that it's okay for you to be on this type of vulnerable journey too. Thank you so much, Aja, for your time. Good
Yes.
night, everybody. Thank you.